Hello everyone. So recently I've been getting some requests to maybe make a tutorial on the MDBMSC editor and the various node types that we use in charting. So I hope this will be of help to anyone who wants to start their first chart. The first thing we'll look at on the right side is perhaps like a quality of life UI choice. So for example, if you're used to charting similar to how the mustache UI looks, you can turn on horizontal view and add mustache node icons. The second thing I want to point out is the number of lanes. So we have 6 total, 2 airs, 2 grounds, and 2 boss. This is just to help make it easier to chart overlaps. Otherwise, you can just stick to using just 1 air, 1 ground, 1 boss. All right, so the first node type that we will look at are going to be smalls. So to place a small, you just want to left click anywhere on any lane that you want. And to remove it, you right click. These ups and downs are node directions. Up means that they come from the ground, and down means that they come from the air. Next, we have mediums. They function the same as smalls, but they're slightly heavier sounding. Same with medium 2s, and they also have no directions. Next, we have large. So large 1 and large 2 are emphasized notes. Large 1s have a clicking noise. Large 2 have a drum noise. And we also have raiders and hammers. These function the same way as larges, except that raiders come from the ground and hammers come from the air. Geminis should always be placed in pairs. If you have one that's missing, this is only for visual purposes. Typically, this is not recommended. You always want them to come in pairs. Next, we have holds. Holds, you just need to drag and drop where you want them to start and end. To shorten their size, you click in the middle to resize them. And you can also have tap holds, which are basically holds where the start and end are at the same measure, so they become just a single note. Just hit Control Shift, it turns red, and then you left click while holding Control Shift. You can do the same with mashers. As for gears, they should always go on the ground lane, never the air. Next, we have speeds. Speeds go inside of the boss lane. Speed 1 is for low tempo songs, speed 2 is for mid tempo songs, speed 3 is for high tempo songs. If your song changes tempo in the middle, you can always go up and down a level. The both means that it affects both air and ground. Low means that it only affects ground, and high means that it only affects air. This music note should always be found at the bottom of your template. It just means that your player for UBM play knows where to start your music. It does not affect offsetting whatsoever. Please use Audacity for that instead. Next, we have boss attacks. Boss melee 1 and 2. This is when the boss charges at you. Typically, you have to give it enough animation time before it can launch the attack, or else it will teleport at you. This means you cannot use boss gears, boss animations, or boss projectiles at all beforehand. Bosses come in 2 phases, boss phase 1 and boss phase 2. Boss phase 1 means that you can only use boss projectile ones. Boss phase 2 means that you can only use projectiles 2 and 3. You can never mix 1 and 2. You can never mix 1 with 2 and 3, and you can never mix 2 and 3 with 1, but you can mix 2 and 3 together. Boss Masher 1 and 2 are the same as Boss Melee 1 and 2, except that you are mashing the boss instead. And just like Melee 1 and 2, you cannot have any projectiles or gears beforehand. I would say typically give about a measure of space before using mashers or melees for bosses. As for boss gears, these function just like regular gears where you just dodge them, but you can finally place them in the air. Next come animations. Typically, you don't have to touch these because in custom albums, Game Master has already automatically coded all of the boss animations for you whenever you place down a projectile. However, if you want to do like cool visual gimmicks, you can go ahead and have fun with these. Just make sure that you place them inside of the yellow lane. Next, we have special effects. We have hide notes, which is pretty self-explanatory. They just turn notes invisible. Hide boss turns the boss invisible. Scene switches. These are just for different genres of music. You can set the initial scene at the top of the header. However, if for some reason your song has two different genres, you can always switch the scene afterwards. An example of this would be Mobe Mobe, where it starts off in Candyland and eventually becomes Castle. You can ignore P item for now. Ghosts, hearts, and notes. Ghosts are basically notes that turn invisible halfway through, and hearts give 80 health on pickup. These usually appear a third and 2/3 of the way through the song. Notes are just like hearts, where they're pickups, but they only give 200 points and they don't give health. Next, we have hide background, unhide background. It turns the background dark when you have it on. Screen scroll up and down. Scanline ripples is like some kind of visual glitch sort of effect. Chromatic aberration is like a sort of miscolored wavy effect. Vignette turns your screen a slight shade darker, kind of like a shadow effect. And the TV static completely obscures your vision by filling it with static. I think the ones that are more confusing to use is probably flashbang. So flashbangs have 3 phases: 0% brightness, 100% brightness, and then back to 0% brightness. So start is where you want your flashbang to start, meaning you're at 0% brightness, but you want it to grow progressively brighter all the way up to mid. And then you want your 100% brightness to go back to 0% brightness all the way until flashbang end. So you're supposed to use all 3 in this order. And special effects, as usual, always go into the yellow lane. Background stop starts, background stop end. Okay, so these 2 are used in Doppelganger. I think you've seen like where the background just kind of stops moving. This would be that effect. You don't have to pay any attention to any of the note types from 30 to 3F. These are almost never used. All right, so these are the most basic note types and how to use them. I didn't go over any charting theory because that's a completely different subject. But if anyone is interested in any more videos, or if anything was confusing, please leave a comment or DM me. I am pretty active in the MDMC community, and I'm always happy to answer anyone's questions. If you want to create your first new chart, don't be afraid to post it underneath the forums. People are really nice in the community, and if you ask for feedback, I'm sure people are also willing to give it. Anyway, thank you for listening, and happy charting.